Hello, ladies and gentlemen. On this episode, we have a special guest with us, Noelle, Patriot Mom 007 from Arizona. We're going to be talking about the border. We're going to be talking about Arizona elections, Carrie Lake, other people that are running, and things that we can do to get involved to save the state of Arizona and our country. Before we get into that, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video and the channel overall, Midas Gold Group. Ladies and gentlemen, physical, tangible, constitutional money, physical gold and silver. And you can get free silver on qualifying orders when you tell Midas Gold Group Vlad sent you. So text Vlad, VLAD, to the number 232425 or go to MidasGoldGroup.com or call them at 480-360-3000. Again, get free silver on qualifying orders. Let's get right into it. Right, Noelle, hello. Thank you for coming on the show. It's the first time, but I think it's not the last time. How are you doing today?
Great, Vlad. Thanks for having me. So nice to meet you recently.
Yeah, no, you too. Yeah, we have a lot of mutual friends down there in Arizona. You're in Phoenix. You've been there, you said, over 20 years, right?
Yeah, I've been here 25 years. Yep.
So you know how everything, you know how everything works out there. You know how everything's happening out there. You understand, the politics of Arizona. And recently, in the last 4 years, Arizona has been getting national attention. Frankly, it's been getting world attention. I mean, European conservative news, Russian conservative news have been talking about elections in Arizona, right? You have the border, you have this fake governor that won the election that she ran. But how are things looking up? We have the election coming up. What are people feeling? How are they? Are they excited? Are they optimistic? Or are people like, screw it, our elections are done?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of that on both sides. The fear of even getting involved in the next election in Arizona because of all the issues we've had beginning in 2020. And then I think there's the people who are so ready to get involved because of the problems that they've seen the last few years, that they know that if they don't get involved this time, they're going to just let this opportunity pass them. And, we say here in Arizona, a lot of people don't. They worry about the voting, of course, because of our 2020 audit that we did. And I actually worked that audit for 5 months. So I know intricately the problems that they had in the processes. It was glaring for those of us who were handling the ballots for that length of time. But I would say this, and I always tell people, if you don't vote, then you really, first of all, you can't really complain after the fact. And but you have to be involved. We have to at least attempt to operate under the process and system that we have now. Whether it breaks down or not, we can't just sit on the sidelines and just assume it's going to break down, because there's also, if you flood the zone, so to speak, with numbers of voters and ballots that are turned in, it does create an issue where number-wise they have a harder time manipulating. It's when people don't vote and there's a lot of voter registrations to work with, and they can infuse other, information in there, maybe brand new voters that don't really qualify. So if legitimate voters vote who are on the record in the rolls, it does cut down on that, I believe personally, a great deal for the manipulation on the back end. So I say everybody vote. We let the chips fall where they may. We can't control everything. We control our vote, and we have that to give. And July 30th for us is our primary. And we were just talking about that. There's a lot of good primary candidates. If you let that pass you by, don't expect the best candidates to get into the general in November. So get up and vote on July 30th here in Arizona.
Yeah. And I want to kind of go back to, you said something, a lot of people think, oh, does my vote even count? It does. They want you to think your vote does not count. That's why they do this, right?
Right.
And they want you to think your vote does not count, and they want you to give up, and they want you to sit at home. A good friend of mine, his name's Matt Shea. He was a lieutenant in the Army for 20 years, served in Iraq and Libya. Then for 12 years, he was a representative of Washington State, what was it? Well, a lawmaker here in Washington State. He was attacked. Like the swamp went after him. They tried to take he's a constitutional attorney. They tried to take his license away. He beat them all in court. Now he's a pastor. And I've had him on the show, and he's got a big radio show here in the Northwest. And he actually said their number one, strategic mind games is to want to make you think your vote doesn't count. He said,
Right.
no matter what state you live in, even if it's in California, your vote counts.
Right.
And the way he explained it, he said people are waking up and they fear it. He said, if let's say, if miraculously, not over time, but over a span of 4 years, 30% of people vote the other way in California, they'll flip California no matter what system it is, because you can't, let's say there's 100 people and 70 vote for one guy. You can't, there's no way you can manipulate that. You will break their algorithm. And he actually went back and explained what happened in 2016. And he was still in the military and very much involved in politics. He said Trump was not supposed to win. But they expected Trump would get no more than 53 million votes. But he got 10 million more. Then for 2020, they thought he would get about 65. But they were so ready to get him out. That's why they did it so openly. And that was their mistake.
Right.
And he's like, your vote does count. And I want to put this on the screen. So this is, of course, I shared it on my Twitter. So everyone go follow me. There's my at ANN_news92. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so this is our Take Our Border Back Summit flyer that you have up on the screen right now. And we did this in February this year with Arizona, Texas, and California. It was just a 3-state rally at that time and a southern border convoy from the East Coast into Texas and then from the West Coast into Yuma and Arizona. And we're going to be back there as one of our stops in October. But before we get there back in October, this is going to be a North America alliance this time. So we went from 3 states to 3 countries in a matter of a few months. We realized that although our southern border states, where myself and our team members live in Cali and in Texas, that we're affected so greatly. You know who else is affected? Our neighbors to the north and the south. And people don't realize that not only is the southern border flooded, regardless of what you see and hear on the TV, which today in the news, they don't report on Arizona, they don't report on Texas at all. They're really concentrating in this tiny little town in California called Jacumba, and they only see a few hundred to 1,000 a day, where Arizona's getting 7,000 or more a day still to this day. And of course, our northern neighbors in Canada, people don't realize that they have Chinese nationals and other countries from 160 countries worldwide coming across our borders. And that includes over Canada borders, which is interesting because I've been to Canada. I used to live up in the Northwest with you in Oregon for 25 years. We used to go to Canada all the time. It is darn hard to get into Canada. Let me tell you what, they've got their gates are locked down pretty good with their Customs and Border Patrol. And to know that you can flood over the Canadian border into America like they're doing, it's almost frightening, more so because they are very strict in Canada. We know Mexico's kind of a little lax with their security, obviously, with cartel running that. But this is happening because that is happening at our northern and southern borders. And this time we're going to be doing Breaking Bread, Table Talk, and Prayer, where we're going to actually assemble. Our first stop is next week at the park in San Ysidro. We're going to be partnering with our counterparts in Tijuana, Mexico. We're going to be walking from the park in San Ysidro to the actual border proper. Whoever shows up at the park, last time there were several hundred people. We hope to double that. And we're going to be meeting with pastors at the border of Mexico for prayer, for all our countries, for all our people, for our families. This poor woman was just found murdered and raped in Maryland, mother of 5. And now another young girl in a park in New York was just attacked, I believe, overnight. They caught the offender, both illegal entrants into our country from different Honduran countries and South American countries. But these things are happening every day. Laken Riley was murdered, obviously, and these issues are going to increase even more. We're going to be hearing about them. I think they suppress them. So you need to get your voice out. Come to these events where like-minded people are gathering. for prayer this time around, to break bread with one another, like our Lord and Savior did with his disciples. And we want to encourage people to, be present in what's happening, not just at the ballot box, but also to tell your friends and your family and neighbors in your regions what's happening. And that's why we're moving around the country this time. We're going to be in Texas on July 27th, back in Texas. We're working with Doc Pete Chambers again and Colonel Phil Waldron of One Shot, which is where we were part of the first round. And then in August on the 24th, we head to Shelby, Montana in the north, and we're going to be working with Alberta, Canada up there. September, we're in Youngstown, New York on the Rainbow Bridge. We're going to rehijack the rainbow, just the whole thought behind rainbows for us again. And we're going to meet in the middle of the bridge. Nobody needs a passport for any of these events. We're not crossing into countries. We're just meeting at the borders of the countries. And in October on the 19th, we'll be here in Yuma in my home state. Amazing property, 7 acres, called Britton Farms. Mr. Britton, the 85-year-old gentleman, patriot to the core, and his family are gifting us the property once again. We gave back to them after the event was over. And we intend to do the same again. We'll have food. We will have, prayer. We will have speakers. Dr. Franks, if you're familiar with him, is one of those speakers. He's going to be trying to get to more than one event. And we will be talking also about election issues and ballot box issues, as well as our open borders to the south and north of us.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can make it, save those dates, save that information, reach out to them and go join. Now, I want to mention something. When you were talking about all these issues that happened, right before we got on this, I was watching a video in Tacoma just last night. A drunk young lady, college student, called an Uber to go from the bar to her, to her parents' house. The cab driver seen that she's so drunk, so he drove her there, clicked on the phone that he got her home, took her a few miles out of there, and she was violently raped. But thank God that her dad tracked the phone, caught the guy in the act, beat the brakes off him. And he was an illegal immigrant from from somewhere in the Middle East. He was using his friend's ID, right, who's here legally, to be driving around and doing this. And wow. It's happening everywhere. It's happening, but this is why
it is happening everywhere, and people don't realize. And that's why we did our first event of our Take Our Border Back, which is at takeourborderback.com. For those who want to go check out the website, hit the join us button. You'll get updates on what we're doing in the near future and the far future as well. I don't think this is going to stop, with just a few events, but we were trying to bring the highlight and the spotlight because the mainstream media will not report on the border. Now going into the election, they are actually stopping all border reporting as far as I can tell, so that nobody knows what Biden has done to the country and continues to do for the last 3 years and another 6 months when he stays in office till January. We hope to remove him then with a new president, of course, and vote. That's why voting matters so much. But people don't, there's millions of people in our country and the other bordering countries that don't know this is even happening. We hear more stories every day, like that poor girl in Washington State, this poor girl in New York. This was a young girl that was attacked, and somebody stopped that. I don't know what point, but we'll find out more. The news just came out on that today. The poor mom of 5 who was raped and murdered on the jogging trail, place where she lived, her whole life in Maryland, and now leaves 5 children, young children behind. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more we don't hear about. And it's our job, of those of us who know, who are willing to talk about it, like you, like us, myself. Kim Yater has a podcast. Scotty with Sovereign Radio has a podcast, all on our team of 6 founding members. And we have to be the ones who bring it to the attention of those who don't know. Really, education, I always say, is key. You have to educate yourself to even know how to operate in today's world, whatever state or country you live in, because these countries are there. It's pervasive amongst all the countries in the world now, where they're infiltrating with cartel members, gang members, crime, criminals from that are being let out of the systems into our society. And if we ignore it and pretend it's not happening, I don't want my kids to be the victims one day without knowing about it. I tell them all the time. They run around town. They're young adults. I tell them all the time, hey, this is happening. This happened here in Phoenix. This happened in this part of town. Please be aware when you're out with your friends, especially your girlfriends, the young girls they hang out with, in their early 20s. Do not let them go in bathrooms by themselves. Wait outside of the bathroom for them. That's where the cartel, they will come and they will kidnap people right out of our bathrooms in the shopping malls, in all the public places. They're very bold and brazen. And we have to remember, these are criminal elements. They do not care about our laws, and they will do anything they can to perpetuate their $150 billion business of sex trafficking our kids back and forth across the borders, just like they do into our country with the young kids that are brought here.
And this whole like extremist, and I want to talk about the terrorism that's rising. ISIS. I don't know how many people heard, but we all know about the Caracas stabbing in Moscow a couple months ago. 157 innocent,
yes.
Civilians died. How many people know that ISIS broke into the Russian jail 2 days ago, and where those terrorists were being held, and tried to break them out?
I didn't know that. See, I didn't even hear about that. So that's what I'm saying. The people who know, like you, so you have international ties, and so sometimes some of us are more aware of what's happening in our zones, right? And internationally, I honestly don't necessarily keep up. There's so much happening in Arizona every day. It's just like frightening. It's even hard to keep up with. And then in the country, and then in our area of North America, with even Canada and Mexico now, that what happens overseas, honestly, I don't know how people can keep up with everything. And that's why it's also important that we bring things to light, because your audience, I know they're informed, obviously, because they listen to you, but they may be able to tell somebody else what they hear. Hey, this is happening in Arizona. You guys are in Washington. We're only a few states away. And it's all creeping up into the interior of our nation, and has been for a good 9 months now, since they really had the borders wide open from the north and the south. And so part of our mission is about our sovereignty of our nation. All the nations have borders. They're supposed to be sovereign. Ours is as well. It's in our Constitution. They are not allowing that to be so. And it is up to us, as we the people, to remind what our Constitution and Bill of Rights includes. And that is a sovereign, safe nation, that they're supposed to protect us and our citizens and our families. And we want to empower everyone who comes to our events at Take Our Border Back Summit to have the resources and tools to go back to your counties, your cities, your states, your countries, and bring that back to your local group of community, so you can challenge the rules and laws being broken in your areas, whether it be the state of Washington or Mexico is a little harder. Obviously, they can't speak out loudly like this, even though they're working with us. Canada's different. They actually, Eddie Cornell, who's on our team in Canada, he sued Justin Trudeau over the Emergencies Act of COVID. He won his case against the government. And so they're willing to speak out up there. But we have to be mindful that not all of our friends and neighbors in other countries have the voices we do. And it's up to us to keep saying what we know.
But if you watch world elections, oh my goodness, conservatives, right-wing people are winning. Look at Europe. France. Macron is freaking out. He tried to say, we're going to send troops to Ukraine, and people sent a message. Same in Germany, same in Poland.
Yep.
We see in Canada, Justin Trudeau, he's on time. I want to share this. This is out of Russia. So I want to end with this. While we're letting them come in and rape our women and children and, destroy our welfare system and crimes everywhere, here's how this guy who only wants to destroy the world is actually handling the situation in his country. So we're going to watch this first video. This is them already when they broke into the jail and they're holding people hostages. That's a police in the uniform, hands behind his back. right? Look at the ISIS on the thing on his mind. He's got the big knife in his head. They're gonna show. They got. See. He's
Oh
like,
my
you got
God.
anything to say? And so the ISIS guy's saying, say a couple words, you know. And he's like, I got nothing to say. That's when the police show up
Пошли,
right there
ребята.
across the street. Right now, we keep going. This is another video of them from within.
That's amazing.
Down there inside the jail, and he's saying, we told these sinners, give us a car so we can get our brothers out of here and we'll be gone. So now look at this. Look at that flag. That's an ISIS flag. And then he says, we've seen what they did to our brothers who did the holy work at Kazakh theater. We're praying that they don't take us alive. Because they elect. I watched one of the guys was like, I don't speak Russian. They connected him to some very powerful electric cords. He started speaking better Russian than I can.
Oh my gosh, that is so frightening to see that they take over the law enforcement and take them hostage. These poor men who are, you know, there to protect people in the country.
It ended not bad for the police officers. Right. You hear the from within. Now, I'm just going to skip over this video without playing much, but you see the result. All of them were taken out. Now, here we are 2-3 days later. Let me go to the top. This guy follows like Russian Ukrainian politics the most. So here's what's happening now, right? So after the city hall more than 1,500 migrants deported after Moscow police comments operation illegal 2024. So now, you know, same thing happened with last time. They're like, okay, where are these guys from? And they removed like 10,000 in less than 24 hours from Azerbaijan. Now, wherever these guys are from, they're removing people. Well, we're not going to do anything. We're going to let them keep coming in. We're going to keep letting them do whatever they want to do. And it's sick. It's disgusting. I mean, it's wrong. And again, I, as an immigrant myself, I say these immigrants are different.
Oh, very different. Danger. I mean, my dad is an immigrant. I'm born in America, first generation, and all my relatives came over from the Middle East, you know, in the 50s properly, and they all had jobs and sponsors, and they got their citizenship as they should over the years. So I know it can be done legally, and that's why I have a problem with it being done any other way, because I know what's available to people. Even it's not an easy task, but it can be done. If my dad did it, who spoke, just light English at the time. And he's 96 now, so he's had the journey of being a U.S. citizen for many, many years, and has done very well for our families and our uncles as well. But we have to remember that the people coming in now into a lot of the countries are the most dangerous, and no matter what they say and tell you on the news, otherwise, President Trump said it years ago, they are sending their worst. Yep. And you can tell the worst from the best, because the best are going to go to college. They're going to have families. They're going to get their citizenship. The worst we see in these news articles around America and the other countries with knives, taking over, taking hostages, shooting people, killing people, raping women and murdering children, and trafficking actually women and children. So it's easy to spot the worst, and we cannot have them out of jails and running around our world. That's why if you guys go to takeourborderback.com, you can find us on X as well. They're hitting us pretty hard on Facebook. Instagram, I think, is still up. So you're gonna have to search for Take Our Border Back. It's under We the People and some of our usernames now, because they are censoring the heck out of us. Just using the word border gets us taken down from a comment. But we also, we do want to ask for help. GiveSendGo.com / Take Our Border Back. We do everything out of our own pockets. The first time around, the 6 of us put everything together, and we were able to raise some funds. It did help pay for our volunteers who traveled, for gas, for our on the ground costs, our video audio costs. I mean, everything does cost money when you bring people into areas. And we did as much as we could on our own, frankly. And so if you can give $5, $10, everything, literally everything helps. I know people say that, but it's true.
And
then
we'll put links down below under
thank
this
you.
video where people can go and donate and follow you
Appreciate
guys.
that. Yeah, and follow us and shout out things that we say. If you can't donate, totally understandable. It's a tough time these days with our inflation in America and all over.
Bidenomics.
Bidenomics at its best. So just re-shout out what you see and hear. Send our links out to your friends and your family. Help us get the word out for the events happening all around the nation. In case you're in the East Coast and you want to go to New York, or you're near Washington, you can get to Montana, or near Texas. You don't have to go to the California next week, but you can go somewhere. And we're hoping by spreading out our events, it can involve more people nationwide who have these concerns where they're living. So I just appreciate you bringing us on today. I say us because we're a team and we work as a team at Take Our Border Back. And so I always talk like it's we, as all of us together, and we are together working this out for everybody.
No, we'll do more, and it was great having you on, getting your perspective of, because you're in a border state, and if we're seeing effects of an open border up here in Washington, then obviously, it's much worse down there.
7,000 a day, Vlad. And people can find me at Patriot_Mom007, Facebook, Instagram, X, although they are censoring the heck out of me too right now. My YouTube channel's up. I work with candidates on my YouTube channel. I have a Rumble overflow channel for just in case they take me down YouTube. But you can hear from candidates too. I talk to them one-on-one, sit down like this, and do interviews so that people who can't get out and meet our candidates before time to vote can pop on my channel and just hear from them directly, personally, about who they are as people, not just as candidates.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was great having you on, and I think I'll have you on more often, and I'll be in Arizona soon. So
I can't wait to see you here.
right,
Okay.
thank you.
Take care, Vlad. We'll talk to you soon.